All right. Welcome to another edition of the Valerie and Benny Living Your Best Life podcast.
Why do you hesitate?
Because I always forget. I had to look and see that we say "living your best life." I don't know why I really do have a hard time with rote memory. So
and your words today,
and my words and everything else. So I am Benny, and this is
Valerie.
Yeah,
and we are the Brother and Sister Act,
the Brother and Sister Podcast Act. So the goal of this podcast is we really do want you to live your best life, right?
Absolutely. That is exactly why we're here. If you didn't hear the first episode or maybe the second, but Benny called me one day and said, hey, what do you think about doing a podcast? Because we have a lot of very, very, we think alike in terms of living your best life. We want to live our best life, and we like to share that with others and help them live theirs.
Yeah, and so we decided to do this, and in trying to do this, we've come up with a little plan. We still don't have an official name. We're looking forward to hearing your ideas, but
maybe actually by the time this airs, we will have a name.
Yeah, but they would. How would that happen? Because they're going to hear. They don't hear it now. They hear it when it airs. You're losing it.
No, because when this airs, Iggy, our sound guy, is going to put our title.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So maybe. But you wouldn't want to put the new name by the time because of the way it was responded and da-da-da?
How often are we going to do that? Are we going to just keep...
So we're going to move on.
Never mind.
But what I am going to say that we do is, in order to make it something kind of unique and not totally rehearsed, is one of us comes to the podcast with a topic that we think is going to be beneficial to you, our listener or viewer, mm-hmm. and then the other person is surprised by that.
Yeah. And it is. It's very unrehearsed. There's nothing about this that is scripted, if you will. So
yeah, the person I know in the case when I do when it's my topic, I try to come with some things for sure that you guys can leave with. But ultimately, what we hope happens is that you guys get something out of our conversation, mm-hmm. because we're just talking real life and things that are popping up in our head and things that we've learned mm-hmm. over the years.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we don't want to be quote unquote. Well, I'm not going to say we don't want to be, but we aren't necessarily experts in these areas. But I will say we try to live these things out in our own lives, and so yeah, so that's
absolutely
it. There you go. So this week it's yours, man.
It is.
But before we get into it, do you have a story to tell?
Well, I think every week we've said, wow, we got together again this week. And we did it once again for Dad's birthday.
We did. I know. I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. We got together again. I'm going to tell you this. That woman, we went to Benihana's.
Yes.
And I have been to it's called what is that called? Japanese steakhouse type thing?
Yeah.
Is that I guess what you call it? A Japanese steakhouse?
Yeah. And they cook in front of you.
Yeah. And I have, the first time I did it, or the first couple times I did it, it was really fun because they were great. Mm-hmm. Like the chefs were just super fun. And then I'll be honest with you, I've done it. I mean, I'm talking about 20 years mm-hmm. ago, whenever the first time it happened. And then I've done it a couple times recently, and the food is always good, but
yeah.
Chefs were a little bit, mm-hmm. and so, but she was
fun.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember any other things that she specifically did that just made us laugh?
Well, I have a video if you want me to put it up.
No, I don't want you to do
No,
that.
but she was fun. And I think, and maybe it's because she was only there for 3 months and you wouldn't know it by the way she was cooking the food, but she was just still maybe energized versus people maybe that have worked there for years. I don't know.
That could be. All I know is I think the biggest thing I like is she was so loud and energetic, and it didn't matter if it was funny or not.
Exactly.
She just was like, she just went for it,
exactly.
man. She didn't hold anything back. Even blowing the choo-choo whistle.
It was so loud.
It was so loud. It was like a real train.
Yeah. But you know, it's funny you said that because I think it was Patty or somebody, or maybe Benny, Peter. Benny. Yeah. Somebody tapped me and said, look at the guy down at the other end. And there was a guy, a chef, and he wasn't interacting with the group.
I
at
actually
all.
told Peter, and then
Oh,
and then I
and then
said,
maybe
"Look
he
at that guy. We could end up with that guy
Yeah,
one day." And
yeah.
Peter was like, "Oh my gosh!" And
Yeah, so we lucked out, and it was really fun. It was very fun, and I haven't been there. I've only been there twice, and it's been years and years. So I was pleasantly surprised with the food and how good it was, because
Yeah.
I don't remember the food, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because you really do it for the entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
I think. But the food was really good, and I really did enjoy it. I thought it was really fun.
Yeah.
And so I was, and then it was just fun to be with family again. And
Yeah.
Dad's 80. I mean, it's really bizarre
80.
to think that our dad is 83.
Yeah.
And
It's funny because I think I posted it in my stories, and I think I put 84, and then I saw your post and it said 83. I'm like, Benny's wrong. And then I was like, oh my God, no, he's right.
sadly, I actually wrote him a card because that's my thing is I handwrite cards.
Yeah.
And I put, happy 84th.
Oh, so you did?
And then at the party, I go, somebody said he's 80. He goes, happy 83. And I was like, he's 84. And he was
Oh my
born in
gosh.
40. And then I did the math.
The math, yeah.
But see, it's always messes me up because of the year. And it always messes
Yeah.
me up. Like,
When you're,
is it one more than whatever the year is, or is it one less? And
Yeah.
I'm
and it depends where you are. Yeah, in the year. Yeah.
yeah. So it's really dumb, but yeah, I really thought it was 84. So nevertheless,
Well,
I
there.
told him that though. I said, sorry, the
Yeah.
card says 84. But
You
I
should
knew
just take it back and re-give it to him next year.
I should I should have said happy 1940s because I knew that.
Yes.
So anyway,
Oh my gosh.
okay.
Well, we can move on because I know by the time I was going to say how my day was so long because I had been on a field trip. But, it's really funny because when this airs, it's going to be the beginning of school. And it's going to be, really? You were on a field trip already?
Yeah, no kidding. So actually,
But
this is your end of school. You have
It
one more
is.
week, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Technically 3.5 days. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, half day Thursday. So
Good for you.
very excited about that.
Yeah. Well, I think we're both talking a little bit about our days too. And so for me, I woke up early, not on purpose. Well, I always wake up early, like if 4:30 is considered early to you. But today I woke up at 4 and I decided to go to the gym, which I don't usually. I just got this membership. And so I went, got the workout done early, got a swim in, which is why I got the whole membership because I like the swim part of it. And why I'm bringing that up is just I even said on this podcast how I really don't get tired, and in the middle of the day I got a little tired.
I know. Well, and I
like-
walked into you and you said, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." You go, "Are you sure you're okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just tired." And I don't usually get tired, but I did not sleep well last night. Something woke me up at 2 and I just could not fall back to sleep. Then went to the gym, then went on a field trip with, 3 fifth grade classes, and it's just exhausting. At school, they're caged in, basically, the school. And now when you're on a field trip at a public place, you're like constant, just where, why is that one walking away? Get back over here, and it's just emotionally.
Yeah, but there's only
and
3.5
physically
more days of school.
Yeah.
So if you get lost, I mean, what can I don't get it.
No, so it is. I feel you because we both were just like, I'm tired.
Yeah, which is so funny because we've talked about how we don't get
Yeah.
tired, which I would say is generally true. But
Which I got my Revitalize in the mail today, and that helps. So this is filled with my, if you can't see it, my Revitalize, which has the 70 plus trace minerals. So it's like really, really natural energy.
There we go.
There's no adaptogens,
There's no adaptogens,
but it does have Shilajit. So
that's a dance move. Sheila Z. Can you do the Sheila G?
ooh, we should make that.
Oh goodness, Sheila G.
Oh,
And
maybe this is because
did you
we're
say
so
trans
tired.
minerals?
Trace minerals.
Trace minerals. Trans. That's another thing. Just trans minerals.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, the doc.
Don't know what those are either. So
Okay.
another podcast.
We'll do the
Okay.
adaptogens, trace minerals.
Okay. Well, what do you got for me?
Okay. Well, I don't even know how to introduce it, but I wanted to. I mean, I don't even know how to introduce this. I want to talk about social media,
Oh, okay.
and I want to talk about the positives and the negatives, and I
Yeah.
want to know your thoughts on it, just in general.
My thoughts on social media in general.
Yeah. Like, do you have any positive or negative thought about it?
I think I have both. I really mean that. I'm not just trying to ride the fence, but I will say, with social media for me, for instance, I can use it to find out a lot of information that I find very, very helpful. It's I've learned about podcasts through social media. When somebody posted, check out this podcast, and then I do, and it's great. I have learned like books. People have recommended books on there, and so I really enjoy that. And then on the other hand, there have been times in my life when 3 hours went by. That's probably an exaggeration. And all I was doing was vegging. And that to me is not useful, helpful. It's not good. It's not. And then I'm sure you're going a different direction, but then obviously too, there's information that's not correct on social media. And there's things that people say and people do that I'm not necessarily all for. It's interesting, but let me just stop there because.
And I agree with you. I think that social media for me, I have connected with so many people and made a lot of friends, to be honest. Like people that still live on the other, I've never met person to person, but when we talk or chat through like DMs or whatever, like I feel a connection with these people. I also sell direct sales, direct direct sales through social media with Modere and Beauty Counter. So that's helped a lot. And again, met many people, tons of clients through that. But also I've just been reading, and it's been a while. It's been a couple of years, a year or two, that I've just hear different little things and read articles on the rate of depression that is happening with a lot of kids, teens specifically, and maybe even early 20s. I'm not sure, but specifically they were talking about high school years, and there was a lot of depression. There was a lot of feeling of isolation. There was a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out, and it all stemmed from social media because they felt like when you think about it, you're not going to post something on social media that makes you, I'm not going to talk about like an argument that I got into Peter about. You know what I mean? I'm not going to share like, today I got an argument. I mean, maybe I have actually said something, but I mean, it's not going to be the highlight of my, my profile.
Right.
I'm not going to. And so you're seeing a lot of filter. I try not to use filters and stuff like that. But what I mean is like people in general will post, filtered photos. They will post the highlights of their weekend, everything they did with friends, everything they did with family or whatever. And what's happening, and I fully believe, because working with elementary kids that are getting into that, like the fifth graders in particular, because they're going into junior high, I fully believe that it is becoming a way of people to socialize and not interact face to face. And so many people, like kids are leaving the school and they are opening their phones as they're leaving the class or the school grounds, and they're saying, okay, I'll see you on, TikTok or a game or, whatever. And it's like, wow, remember? And then you would talk to them on the weekend or like on Monday, what did you do this weekend? And most of them talked about playing games with other friends through, whether it be an app or social media or whatever it is, and it's like, did you guys get together? No,
right. And well, I think it's interesting what you're saying because, you brought something up that I totally brain farted on, which is when we lived in Ecuador, it was a way that we stayed connected with people in the States. And then now that we live here, we can stay connected with people in Ecuador. So,
well, it's funny you said that because back when you guys moved to Ecuador, you said get on Facebook, and I'm like, no, I don't want to get on a Facebook. And you go, please, because that's where you can post pictures of what's going on with your kids, and I can easily see what your family's doing, and we'll do the same. So I did, and I ended up finding many connections with high school friends and all that kind of stuff. So it was a good thing. But to your point, it ended up through the years became more, not so much social, but a lot of like agendas, a lot of politics, a lot of,
It's funny because of what you just said, because it's called social media.
Yeah.
So it's like the idea was originally that we're going to we're going to be able to connect with
Yeah.
people. And we're going to be able to do all these wonderful things. And then, and you know, this is so funny. Today, I was telling Patty on our, because I did all that. Then Patty and I went for a couple mile walk with the gym. And I was telling her that I'm going to have to do some, Patty, you haven't heard this, but I was saying I have to do some YouTube videos of swimming because I said I'm a mess out there. I mean, I can go back and forth, but it's like
You mean watch YouTube videos?
Yeah, because I don't know when to breathe exactly, and I don't know when to do all this. And I just mentioned that for I don't know,
got
20
video
seconds.
things.
All of a sudden, I looked at Facebook today, and I have never ever seen a swimming video ever.
Isn't that funny?
And literally, there was a how-to swim video,
Yeah.
and I was like, that
Of course.
is freaky.
Yeah.
And it totally blew my mind, which just my point though is that originally I got onto social media in order to connect with people and do exactly what you said. There's high school friends, there's just friends in general. And in our case, because Patty and I have never lived with where both sides of the family are, we've always been able to connect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and see people. And so, but it's not that anymore.
Right.
Or at least it's not.
Right.
I would say most people, that's not what they're getting on social media.
And I think that looking at some of the studies I was looking at, there's a lot of people that do the comparison thing. There's a lot of people that will get irritated if they posted something and they've gotten, maybe 10 likes, but then they look at somebody else and they're like, well, how did they get 200 likes? And they value themselves by that, and not even understanding, because I'm a mature woman and understand there's an algorithm out there. It's not showing everybody my stuff. You know what I mean? And maybe they don't like it. And you know what? I don't care, but you take a teen who is looking at another teen and they're saying, well, wait, I posted almost the same thing or the same picture. Why are they getting all the likes and I'm not? And they're feeling less valued and their self-worth is, not as good or something.
Well, and what's interesting to me is, so I went on that trip. I can't believe I'm talking about it again, but went on that residency trip. And what I do, and it's kind of annoying to a lot of people, but I take my phone, and whenever I meet people that are new and we're going to get connected via phone, which is what happened with this group, I always say, let me just take a picture of you right now. And I click it, and I'm like really fast, but they're always like, no, I want to get all fixed up. I go, no, I just want a picture of you the way I remember you and the way I know you. And then what was fascinating, I would literally went around the whole thing. Everybody's going, Benny, you're great. Because they all want to, I don't know what they want to do.
Yeah.
Because I just like look at the camera and smile and move on.
Right.
But they want it to, they're like, let me see it. I'm like, no one's going to see this. I don't work for Vogue. And so, but what's interesting is a lot of them would post a picture. Like they put in order for people to go, okay, I want you to use this picture. I am not joking. I would say more than half of the pictures, I could not tell who the person was, because I was like, this is not
so
not
much
that
filter
you're not,
or whatever. Yeah.
And it's not that you're not as beautiful as this picture. It's just that this picture is so edited or so perfect, for lack of a better word. It's not the way I remember you. It's not the way I see you. It's not the way I think of you.
Right.
So that is something that to me is like fascinating about social media, because that's the pictures that you were referring to earlier that people end up posting. People end up posting those kinds of pictures. Yeah. Our doggy is going crazy.
It's funny you said that, because on social media, I know somebody, I don't know the photographer, I know the family, but the photographer took pictures of the family, and I was like, wait, did she get her teeth done? And then, I mean, honestly, it was weird, and then it was like, did she, there was so much editing that it was like, but wait, I know what you look like.
Yeah.
So I know that your teeth aren't perfectly straight and there's spaces between them. And now it's just really weird. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm an old woman and I get it that people want to put their best look out there, but I also feel like it to their detriment. It's like you get, it's almost like those dating sites, you put your filtered photo up there or whatever, and then they go to meet you in person and like, oh,
that is not the person that I saw.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of, so when you're asking the question, what do I think of social media? I guess where I want to go is where were you going with this?
Well, I guess because I work with students, I guess because a lot of times where I'm really going with it is that I really truly believe that it is demise to a lot of relationships, a lot of just communication, and even from parents to children. There are many times, and I might have told you this before, I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast or just in general, but there are so many times that parents come to pick up their children and they have their phone in their hand, and they are legit just staring at it as a child walks up and says, "Hi, mommy," and I mean, obviously you guys can't see me who are just listening to the podcast, but they're not even looking at their kid, and they're patting them on the head like, "Hi, let's go." And they're still eyeballing the phone. And it's like, I don't know if it's a text or if it's an email or if it's social media, but why can we not put the phone down? So really what this is coming down for me is putting the phone down and not
disconnecting.
Yes. And that's what I do truly try. And Peter will say to me, you're on your phone a lot. And he's right. A lot of times it's because I am doing business. I am connecting with people with Modere, or they want a link for a product, or, even with Beautycounter or whatever. But I do try to spend my social media time when he and I are not together. I will take pictures when we're out, and I will wait to post them later, unless there's a real quick, okay, I'm just going to send this right now, But for the most part, I try not to scroll when I'm with people.
Yeah.
I really do. And then when I'm at home, I take the phone, I put it in the bedroom, plug it in, and I go back out in the living room with Peter and not have it in my hand.
Well, I think why do I feel like I just read this somewhere, that there's a state. Is there a state that said, does anybody know, was there a state that recently said that you can't use social media if you're not 18 years old and over?
I don't know that. That's a good thing to look up.
Say it out loud. I can't hear you.
When Facebook first came out, you had to...
Oh, no. But this is recently, there's an actual state in the United States that said you cannot use something anymore. So, that was TikTok. That was because of the Chinese thing, though, huh? So that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
they also cut it off at a certain time, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry, I will look this up and see for sure. But if I'm not mistaken, I believe China does not let them look at TikTok after a certain time, or there's rules about using it,
kids, particularly kids,
but not here in the U.S.
Yeah, I thought I read something, but I could be wrong. But what I do know is this: I agree with you, and even in my studying in regards to my marriage and family therapy license, that is a huge issue right now. With not right now; it's been going on for years. Is how to make it, because social media, I think it's the case with everything. I don't want to get off subject, but everything could be good and everything could be bad, right?
Sure.
And so the thing about social media that is such a big deal is that for kids in particular, if there's a false connection taking place,
absolutely,
and they think that they're really connected, and as soon as they shut it off, they feel completely lonely. It's like they don't have the fulfillment that they get. Whereas like when we were young.
It's funny that you said that, because there was actually a study that I read. I think it was from, I think I have it linked here, but the study actually said they feel lonelier because they feel lonely. They jump on social media, and then they feel lonelier once they get on, because there isn't really a true connection. I don't. That's I still haven't linked here.
But even that you're saying that, that's really funny, because there's a study out there that talks about the fact that people I'm gonna change the subject from social media, but hopefully you're gonna get what I'm saying. Have you ever gone to a party that you're really not sure you really want to go to?
Mm-hmm.
And you go to the party, and let's just pretend like you look at everybody, you see how they're dressed, you see how they act, and then all of a sudden you feel like, I have to be that person. I have to be like them, so you can see, okay, they're all in suits and ties, they're all dressed up, they're all talking really. And so all of a sudden you feel like, I got to talk real professional, even if that's not your normal personality.
Right.
And then let's just pretend like everybody rejects you, and everybody says, that's, I really don't like Valerie, there's just not a connection that takes place. You feel horrible when you leave there because you tried to fit in and you didn't.
Right.
But if you go into that same meeting and you are yourself, and they still reject you. There's a difference because you don't feel slimed by it.
Absolutely,
You
yeah,
actually just
yeah.
feel like, hey, I was myself. We don't get along. Let's just move on.
Right.
Well, what's funny about that and bringing it to social media is I think that's the thing is that you get on social media and you show a false persona.
Yes.
And then if that false persona who is trying to get connected, doing everything possible to be connected, and then all of a sudden they're rejected, now you feel even worse than had you just been rejected and you were yourself.
Right.
Because now it's like it's like a full-blown rejection.
Yes.
I don't know what I can do
Right.
to ever get accepted.
You know, it's really funny that you mentioned that because this is kind of on that line, but people do put up an image of themselves that they want you to think that you are. And it's very interesting because I went to a beauty counter conference right before COVID. It was actually in March in San Francisco. And like the week after we got back, everything shut down. But I went and there was a few people that I follow on social media. And when we met, they were not the same people.
Yeah,
they were, in fact, I ended up unfollowing one girl because I was like, the nicety person that you portray on social media and the kindness and this whole, persona that you want to have is not who you were. Like I heard how you were talking to people. I introduced myself. You and I have communicated through social media, and you kind of shunned me, and it wasn't like, I didn't feel like, oh man, I wanted to be her friend. I just thought, wow, she's a different person that she puts
Right.
out on social media. And so, I really honestly try to be who I am. Like when I'm on social media, I don't try to pretend that I'm this person. I want to be this person everywhere,
Right.
But, and then on the flip side, there are people that I've met that I'm like, that person couldn't be more like that person.
Yeah.
Like it's great to know that person is that person, you know?
And it is fun when you get to connect with, and I think there's something to be said that, when you meet somebody who is authentic, I'm going to use that word right now. And when you meet someone who's authentic, you can almost tell. You just sense that this person is not there's no pretense. They're just themselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's really good. Sometimes that's bad. But even when they're a little bit rough on the edges, but it's them. It feels okay because it's kind of like that's them,
Yes.
And people have said that. Well, that's so and so,
Exactly.
And it's like you just.
But you appreciate them because they're not trying to be anything else.
They're not trying to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who they are.
Yeah.
And social media at times can make it so that we get confused by it. And I mean, and then there's the whole, which I don't know if you wanted to go down this direction because I know it's an ugly direction, but it's the political direction.
Yeah.
And it's.
And that's where, and like you said, because you end up, and rightfully so, the person that believes one way is going to post certain things. And then you're like, okay, well, is that true? And then you see something else. You're like, how can there be two contradictory,
Opinions?
opinion? Well, not even opinion, because that is, it's okay to have an opinion.
Oh, right.
But they would make it as fact.
Oh,
you know what
right.
I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that always freaks me out when I'm reading something and nowadays you can just, depending on the site you use and depending on how you normally Google search, and people know this better than I do, but all the algorithms know what you're looking for. So
Right.
when you Google something, I guarantee you're going to get a different result on your
Probably,
computer
right.
than I'm going to get.
Right.
Because it already has an idea of what I'm looking for.
Right.
And so that's just a scary thing. Now that's not social media per se, but
it is because, like you said in the beginning, social media to me, when you asked me to join Facebook when you moved to Ecuador, it was like, okay, well, this is a way that we can socialize because you're in another country. You know what I mean? And so, but it ended up becoming where, again, a lot of political stuff, and they were just like, and what I find very interesting about that is, a lot of people will say things on social media that they wouldn't say to your face. And so that's the other thing, like, or they will post something that they wouldn't necessarily go, oh, look at this in front of your face. I know people are becoming more and more open about a lot of things, but I just remember, you might remember this, but Mom and Dad had always said, like, when you're together with people, you don't talk religion or politics, or money. And that lasted a long time, and people got along.
Yeah.
There's so much division right now, so much. And it's not just because people are able to talk person to person. I believe it's because people can throw everything out on social media and then turn around and walk away because
Right.
there's no face to the post. It's just,
Right.
you know,
You're just saying what you believe, and then you move on, and then it's like, what? I'm just saying what I
Exactly.
think. But it's like, would you talk? Maybe it's about the tone, because it's not even, it's not
Sure.
the fact that you can't have an opinion, or that you can't show whatever your facts, quote unquote,
Right.
are. But the truth is that you might not have the tone that you have. Although on the other hand, I think because of social media, people are having that tone, and they're feeling like it's perfectly acceptable to just go ahead and say and do whatever, because of the fact that they're thinking, hey, this is the way I talk. This is the way I am. And I just think that there's some etiquette that's kind of gone
yeah,
out the window.
I feel like in a lot of cases, it's just hiding behind the screen though, because I always tell myself, and what I have actually taken something down, like shared it on stories and stared at it for a minute and said, never mind, discard or delete. Because it's like, is this something that I would say would I say this to you? Would
Oh,
I
right.
post this to you? Would I share this with you?
Right.
And if it isn't, then I'm not going to do that.
Then
I'm
it's
not
not-
going to
yeah.
just go, well, I want everybody to know about this. I'm putting it out there, and then just walk away.
Yeah.
No, I have to, if I'm going to put it out there, then I'm going to have to be ready for conversations, and maybe I don't want to, so I'm not going to share it,
What would you say for so people that are listening out there? What are we communicating to them? What do we want them to leave with? What do we want them to feel like this is where we're trying to go with it? Because I bet you, when you came into this thing, you were saying, I want to talk about social media, and there's a issue that you're having with it.
It's for me,
or concern.
It's
that
a
you have for
concern.
people.
It is a concern. Again, working with children, working with fifth graders, hearing a lot of their conversations that they don't know I hear. The concern for me is, I think that as a parent, if you're a parent, I think that you need to honestly be careful of what your kids are looking at or watching or whatever. Like, even if, I know Nicole lets Mazzy to have her iPad, but she had to cut it down to 30 minutes. And it's not for social media, it's to play games or whatever. But she had to turn it down to 30 minutes because she's like, she just gets a little, forget about the blue light that you're looking at all the time too. And a
Right.
lot of people fall asleep with their phones in their hand while they're looking at it. And that
Yeah.
just throws off circadian rhythm with the blue light. But more than that, if children, and I say children because I don't care if you're a teen, you're still a child, in the grand scheme of life. When you're scrolling social media and you're watching other people live their lives, it can be damaging. And I think that's why the depression rate has gotten so high in teens, because they're comparing their lives to somebody else. And so I just urge you as a parent just to, I know it's hard. A lot of people are like, well, that's my babysitter right now. They're out of my hair for a few minutes. But I just really think that try to encourage your children to get together with other friends versus staring at a social media page, or even just DMing or texting. Like, let's go back to just playing in the front yard. And
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think, the fact of the matter is we're never going to get rid of social media. I mean, it's a part of life now. There was a time when I remember when people had cell phones in the beginning, and it was kind of like, I'll never get one of those.
Yes.
And now, does anybody have a landline? And so,
Exactly.
and so it's like, social media is a part, but there's got to be a way for parents. But I'm going to go one step further, because I think the parents themselves could get stuck on social media.
well, and
get
that's
stuck
I
on
was
things.
going to go there too, but you cut me off. No, just kidding. I'm kidding. But that was the other thing I was going to say, is because I have seen many, many parents sitting on their phones while kids are trying to get their parents' attention. And it's very sad because they're actually doing things in a negative way to get their parents' attention.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, mommy, watch this. Mommy, watch this. Mommy, I've been at a park with Mazzy playing, and there is a parent sitting on the bench, and you can tell she's scrolling by the way she's moving her finger up her phone, and you can hear kid, Mommy, watch this. Mommy, watch this. And she just never looked up. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So I think that exactly, I think that there just needs to be a limit. And I am not here to say that I am perfect. I have my phone in my hand a lot, but I mean, I'm just watching the demise of connection, the personal connection, eyeball to eyeball conversations, parallel play with, children. They're parallel playing with the phone in their hand. How many times have you gone to dinner and seen a whole family at a table and everyone's on the phone, including the children?
Yeah.
Or there's an iPad in front of a kid, so I don't know. Again, I think that doing a little bit of research and seeing that depression has gone up. And because of the study, a lot of it was traced back to social media.
Yeah.
And so
social media, it's like, what's interesting is that when I started to really, because I think I've always been the person that we're being in this podcast and so on, but then I decided that, okay, I'm going to really do a focus of doing this on social media and looking for things like this on social media. And I started to do that. And it was fascinating to me because all of a sudden, that's all social media will show me now,
exactly.
which is great.
Right.
So it's a great way to learn. It's a great tool. But just like anything, if it becomes
an obsession,
an addiction, I think what happens too, I remember our kids, they would go, I'm bored.
Yeah.
And when they were before phones and before all that stuff, they would go, I'm bored. And oh, this is not good. I used to say this. I go, well, you're just boring. But the point that I was saying is, stop it. Go make some fun.
Yeah.
And I think that the most creative things take place when you're bored, because all of a sudden you go, okay, I got to figure out
something to do. And to that point, and then we can kind of wrap it up. But you brought up something about the boredom thing, because having, and not just social media, but just internet in general, there's that instant gratification. When you're doing something other than finding something instantly and looking at something instantly, watching your friend instantly, when you don't have that, like if your parent says, okay, time, you're done with that, you got to put it away for the rest of the night, you do hear, I'm bored. And it's like, because things take time. You want to play a board game with the family, and it's like, well, it's going to take time to get, I mean?
Right.
We're not going to feel that instant gratification when you start playing the game,
That's right. Yeah.
So,
well, and then you have to start using a part of your brain that's been asleep while you were doing social media. Because when you were doing social media, that your brain is literally just in no man's land, and you're just scrolling, and I'm going to speak about me. When I do that, I'm a little zombie-like.
Totally.
Because it's like, I mean, literally, it's funny because I'll do it for what I think is 5 minutes. And then I look and I go, oh my gosh, it's been 15, 20 minutes. It's like, and I had no idea that 20
well,
minutes.
this is TMI, but I usually sit down on social media when I go to the bathroom, because it's like, you know what? No one else is in there with me. I'm not cutting off anybody's, you know what I mean? I'm
cutting off anybody's.
I'm not like sitting there with you or Peter and like scrolling social media.
Right. So it's a good opportunity.
Yes.
Although I will say that some people might use it as an opportunity to go to the bathroom, and an hour and a half later, and you're like, what in the world's going on in there? And they just watched an entire movie. But no, it's true though. I think that, again, I'm not going to be able to say, yeah, I'm going to cut it out of my life.
Oh no, I don't think you can. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's not what I was bringing to this, to cut it off. Forever. I really just feel like there has to be limits. And especially if you have kiddos, like be aware of what they're taking in and what they could be possibly comparing themselves to, because it's like you said, it's a great it's a great tool, but it could be damaging.
So I think it's cool. So I'm gonna the way I interpret what you're saying is like, you be intentional with your kids regarding social media. And I think it's fair that, every parent did something to, even us, when it's like, okay, I'm sick of like constantly being with you.
Yeah.
But in our day, they would say, go play in the backyard.
Right.
Go ride your bike.
Right.
Go do something like that.
Right.
And nowadays they say, here, watch this movie or whatever it is. And I think it's just more about, okay, I have to be very intentional about when and how, I have to be intentional about when I use it too, because if you're at the park and if you're sitting there doing that thing and your kid is watching you,
exactly,
then later they go, oh, well, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I need to do that. I need a phone because I want to be like you, mommy. I want to be like you.
Right.
And
then you can't get mad at your kid when they're on their iPad and you're asking them a question and they're in the iPad just staring at it. You're like, why aren't you answering? Why aren't you answering? You're like, well, this is how it works, right?
yeah, exactly. That's what I thought that we're supposed to
Yeah.
do. So that's interesting. Well, great. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already asked you for
You
last
did.
words. Yeah.
So, yeah,
but
just-
anyway, well,
Just
I appreciate
again,
it.
I like the word intentional. Just be intentional.
Be really intentional about your own usage and the uses that you have with your kids. And so, yeah. Well, Valerie, I actually really do enjoy talking to you.
I do too.
It's really
always
weird.
good.
It
Always good.
It's always good. We've never done anything wrong. or ever had any bad conversations ever.
It's
in our
really
entire
funny
lives.
though. We really haven't, because even if we disagree on a topic, we don't ever have a bad conversation, or it's never a
That is an interesting thing. I was actually wondering if one day this is going to be a topic about how siblings are, because I honestly think back to our life, and other than the fight that I think we mentioned in our last podcast or in a podcast ago, but I don't recall with you ever getting in an argument. It's like we just live the
Yeah.
life that we live. So
yeah.
anywho.
All right.
All right. Well, hey, Iggy, we're always grateful that you keep us in sound and do a great job with this thing. Speaking of social media,
Follow us and scroll to our pages.
yeah, you can stay on our page for hours and hours and hours. We want to encourage you to do that. Share our podcast if it's been helpful. It really does help us if you subscribe, and if you also comment and give us 5 stars. That's really helpful.
That would be great. And also, again, speaking of social media, Benny is at Benny Gonzalez on Instagram, at Benny Gonzalez, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And mine is A Daily Dose of Cocoa.
Yeah, so you can follow us there, and we would love to connect with you. And we really do want your opinions and your ideas on topics, if you have any topics that you think would be great. And then also, if you have a title, because we're still calling it the Valerie and Benny podcast. So, all right, guys. Well,
All right.
thank you so
Have
much
a
for listening.
great week.
Yeah, make it a great week. We'll see you next time.
Bye.